This is episode 323 of The Real Man, a movie podcast. On this episode, Chase is going to take a look at some of the movies that he has missed over the last 2 months. All that and more, this episode starts right now. What's going on, everyone? This is Chase Lee for episode 323 of the Real Man movie podcast. Before I begin, please spread this episode around and let people know this is your favorite movie podcast to listen to, even though I've only been doing them like once every month, 2 months. I don't even know anymore. My brain is mush. But how are you guys doing? You know, it's been a hot minute since I've done one of these things. I think the last one I did was in March or April. I think it was April. So it's been a couple months. But that was the last one I recorded before I moved from my old house into the house I am currently in. This is not my office space that I'm recording in because that looks like a storage container on Storage Wars. It looks really bad in there. So I have to get in there. I have to rearrange some stuff, and I'm hoping to make it look, somewhat decent. So, just make it look okay, just average for the people out there. But yeah, it's going to take some time to organize the office, paint it, decorate it, make it look kind of snazzy. It's also going to be my game room. It's going to be, pretty nice and everything. So for right now, it's just going to be recording in a barren room, and I'm going to have the fan on because it is hot as a beep up here, a mother beep. So, if you hear like a swooshing or a whirling, that's what that is. I don't mean to have the extra background noise, but it is hotter than the Dickens up here, the Dickens. So, but yeah, how are you guys doing? I hope everyone's doing well. It's, the summer season has started, so I hope everyone can find time to take vacations and, take those days off because, trust me, people need that. If you have all your PTO hours banked up, take a day. Say, you know what? I'm going to take this day off. What are they going to do? Fire you? No. Just be like, hey, listen, I want to take this day off. I want to do my thing. You just tell them which day, and you don't even question it. Just do it. There's a couple of vacations I got coming up, and I don't care if it's busy. I got the PTO times. I'm going to burn them. So why not? But it's really important to take those days off and kind of clear your head mentally and emotionally and physically, because it can just be taxing sometimes to go through the same repetitive schedule that you go through with work and everything. And it's just nice to have a day where you do nothing and relax and, maybe listen to this podcast or go on a walk, go on a trip, just whatever calms you. I think it's really important to do that. Speaking of mental health, I am still going to therapy for anxiety and panic attacks and stuff. And, like I was telling you guys earlier, some of that anxiety does hinder me from doing this type of stuff. Not because I'm afraid to show my face on camera or put my voice out there. It's just more of like the compartmentalizing of everything and organization and getting these things done, because these things take time to, set up the camera and the mic and to shoot this thing and, edit, put it together and throw it out there. It's just a lot. And so when I go to work and I come home, sometimes I'm just too tired to do it. And, that's where my anxiety just kind of creeps in. And I'm just like, that's too much. And then I end up being a lump, like a little potato for 2 months, and I just don't do anything. But now that I'm fully moved in, I feel like I have a, I guess more motivation to do these types of things now. I wouldn't have recorded this episode that I'm doing for you right now if I didn't feel, like I was motivated to do so. And like I've caught up on all these movies. I'm going to go through every single thing I've caught up on. And that way, by the time In the Heights comes out and some of the more ones coming up here soon, I can start being a little bit more repetitive with my spacing of these episodes and stuff. And that way I don't have to lump everything together after, 1 or 2 months of binging. I can just do them weekly. That way you guys can watch or listen to whatever you want. And you don't have to, sift through this entire episode for this stuff. So I'm hoping this is the last compilation, review episode that I'm going to do, because I want to kind of break these up for you guys like I normally did. So that's what's kind of going on with me mentally and everything. Just my headspace and just what's going on, because sometimes, guys, it's a chore to do this, but I like doing it. So, that's why I'm kind of glad I did this episode. My friend that I saw, last weekend, he listens to the podcast, and he was saying that I should get back into this, and I should. And so like that was a nice little motivational boost to go over that last little hump that was, in my mind that like I didn't want to do. And I wanted to. I was just like, you know what? You're correct. I need to get back into it. I like talking about movies, so why not? And who needs another movie podcast anyways? There is so damn many of them online. It is hard to differentiate yourself, but I am very grateful for every single one of you that has stuck around with me this entire time, even with the long breaks and everything. So, I'm making it work. As long as you guys stick with me and be patient, then I will be fully grateful for that. So I really, really appreciate you guys' support. So, what have I caught up on? Well, TV-wise, it's been pretty amazing. I watched Invincible, watched that whole season. That was fantastic. My wife and I are watching The Nanny right now, which is on HBO Max. We just kind of like, that's our, that's one of the shows I watch before I go to bed. It's nice and calming. So like my anxiety isn't like having my mind running at 1,000 miles per hour before I go to sleep. It's like it calms it. So that show is doing wonders, and it's really funny. It's just really charming. I really enjoy it. What else have I been watching TV wise since the last time? I don't know. It's been a while, guys. Shadow and Bone. We watched that one. That was pretty nice. It's one of the better, I guess, like YA adaptations that I've seen in quite some time, and I didn't think the long TV show format would help it. Like I felt like I was gonna get bored after like episode 1 or 2, but I found myself to be really invested into the world building and just the characters and the situation that was going on. It was very enjoyable. What else? Oh, Mare of Easttown on HBO Max. Very good show. Kate Winslet can do anything. I've always been enamored with her. Titanic came out when I was, 7 or 8, so I've been a fan of hers ever since. And as a young boy seeing that movie, I think you know why right off the bat, but, that prompted me to watch more movies with her in it. And, as I got older and started to mature with my taste and everything in film, well, I wouldn't go too far with that. I do like the Fast and Furious movies, so maybe my taste is garbage. But I wanted to kind of broaden my scopes, with the cinema spectrum. And so, I really liked watching everything with Kate Winslet. And this show is no different. She is absolutely amazing on it. Evan Peters. It's just a really good little mystery. We enjoyed that. I missed the weekly HBO Max Sunday night, shows. She was a Game of Thrones fan before I met her. We watched through those, and then we watched the final season together when they aired live, and that was really nice. And the Mare of Easttown and all these like detective shows, documentaries. Like, I love the Sunday night kind of weekly episodes. It's been great. So, and I can't really recall anything else in the past 2 months. It's just been hectic, guys. I mean, we moved into the new house, and we've been getting a lot of things fixed up, and seems like every single day there's a contractor coming out, and they knock on the door, and they're just like, "Excuse me, we're here for this," and I'm like, kind of staring at them, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, we did. We called for that." So once again, guys, the brain is mush. But yes, that's enough about me. Let's dive right into this. So the movies I'm going to be going over today, and this is not going to be a 4-hour-long episode. I'm getting better at kind of like making sure my points are concise, they're shortened, they're condensed, and I'm not just going to ramble on and be boring. So I'm going to go over Mortal Kombat, Those Who Wish Me Dead, Army of the Dead, Cruella, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and maybe a surprise one that's been one of my favorite things to watch this year. What is it? I don't even have a clue. I got to open up the IMDb page, so I don't even have a clue. But that is the rundown for this episode. So when we come back, I'm going to go over Mortal Kombat, Those Who Wish Me Dead, Cruella, and then I'll leave the other two for the other half. So keep on tuning into this thing, because there's more coming. Welcome back to episode 323. I am your host, Chase Lee, for Real Me and Cold Movie Podcast. Let's jump in to some of the things I have missed, and you're probably going to see a theme and a pattern here that I have chosen mostly the ones from HBO Max, the ones that have been releasing in theaters and on HBO Max on the same day. Honestly, that's just the ones I've had time to watch. But, you know, I have missed movies like Spiral and A Quiet Place 2, and maybe I'll review those. It might be a hot minute because I'll probably just rent Spiral now at home for $20, and then Quiet Place 2, if I don't get to that, it's going to hit Paramount Plus soon, so, you know, there's that. But these are the ones I have caught up on, and so let's start with Mortal Kombat. Now, a little history with, like the previous ones from the 90s. I was a kid when they came out. I thought they were the coolest thing ever. So it's like, you know what? If you want to keep making these things, they're going to be cheesy. They're going to be corny. They're going to be stupid at times. You know, it's going to be hard to adapt this thing. And it's really funny because when these movies came out and stuff, I was like, there's a story that you can tell with Mortal Kombat. And everyone's probably listening to this, thinking like, you idiot, there's like a tournament mode and a story mode on the Mortal Kombat games. I didn't know that. Just like with Grand Theft Auto, I never played any of the story. I played like a little bit, but like Grand Theft Auto, I would just steal cars and cause damage as much as I could to see if the cops could chase me. Mortal Kombat, I would just play with my friends and, like the free play mode and everything, or the co-op or versus mode or whatever it's called. As you can tell, I am 100% a gamer. I have no idea what I'm talking about half the time. But yeah, so when I heard they were going to do a new Mortal Kombat film and like James Wan was going to produce it and everything, I was like, well, first of all, if James Wan's going to produce this thing, he's going to go hard R with it. And I cannot wait to see just the blood, guts, and the glory that comes with Mortal Kombat, because let's be real, that's why people play these games. The fatalities. That was the most redneck thing I've ever that's ever come out of my mouth. My goodness. So anyways, yeah, Mortal Kombat, the R-rated version. The synopsis: MMA fighter Cole Young seeks out Earth's greatest champions in order to stand against the enemies of the Outworld in the high-stakes battle for the universe. And in this one, if you're branded with the Mortal Kombat dragon logo on your arm, you have been chosen. I mean, that's what it is. So, yeah, I can tell you one thing that is very impressive. I forgot every single thing about this movie. 100% forgettable. To start out with some of the good, the fight sequences are pretty cool to watch. There's definitely like some choreography there that took some time to nail down and to really kind of accentuate the violence and just the grittiness of it, and it was just cool to watch. And that stuff's not easy. You have to have your choreographer, your stunt person, your actors. You have to have all that kind of line up to perform a 2-minute scene sometimes, and it might take months to execute. So I do think the preparation when it comes to the action sequences, while they're not the best things I've ever seen, once again, this is Mortal Kombat, guys. Mortal Kombat. It was still, those were cool to watch. Were there a lot of them? No, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. So those were cool. A lot of people have a problem with the CGI blood. I was kind of so-so with it. It's whatever. How was the story and the characters? And the kind of like world building that Mortal Kombat kind of creates, because there's a lot going on. And this spans across many, just vast pieces of land, I'll say. Well, sometimes I had no idea where they were at. But once again, kind of forgettable. It is basically just there as the backbone to get you from action sequence to action sequence. That's about it. Are some of the performances, like, are they worthy to carry the movie? I like Josh Lawson here as Kano. I thought he was the most absurd one, but he was giving it like 100% cheese into his role, and that's what made it really fun to watch. And there was even a couple times where he was terrifying. So he definitely, I think, had the more entertaining role. and more entertaining performance out of everyone else. To be honest, everyone just kind of blended in. At the end of the day, it was just kind of like this cauldron of average performances that, like I said, they serve their purpose, but they are there to carry you from action sequence to action sequence, from fatality to fatality. So they tried. There's really nothing more to say. As you're going to see, there's a theme with most of these movies. They're kind of just there. Production design wise, creating some of these, battlegrounds for these action sequences. They're cool. I like the infight with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. The cold guy and the one with the prickly thing coming out of his hands. I'm talking to everyone as if they've never ever played this game. But if you haven't played this game, that is my best description of it. The cold man and the one with the prickly thing coming out of his hand. So, yeah, the end battle with that was kind of cool. It was layered. It even had like the chain link fence, kind of a little octagon thing going on, and like upstairs a bunch of layers and stuff. So that was kind of cool. It adds movement, it adds excitement to the scene. But that's honestly it. There's really nothing more to discuss. Do they set it up for a sequel? Yes, they do. Do I want to see it? Yeah, absolutely. Just because I didn't really care for this one doesn't mean I don't want to see them try. Sometimes the first movie does not work out, and then the second movie is pretty okay or pretty good. So I want to see a sequel. I would like to see where it goes, because you can kind of take this anywhere. It could go into other worlds. It could, hop to a different dimension. I have no clue. Go crazy with it. It's Mortal Kombat with a K. So it's not even spelled correctly. So if you want to go absolutely insane with it, it's like, just do your thing, man. I support it. If you want to go the Fast and Furious route and just make it just completely insane, you got my approval, as if you needed it. So, I thought Mortal Kombat was pretty forgettable. Some cool things here and there, but it's whatever. But I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel. The next one is Those Who Wish Me Dead. This one stars Angelina Jolie, and she is a kind of firefighter watchtower member of the fire squad, where she kind of goes up there and she just makes sure everything is okay. If she sees like some smoke or whatever, she can like alert someone. So she's the eyes of the operation. But she also was a firefighter, previously in her career, but now she's kind of like doing this. So a teenage murder witness finds himself pursued by twin assassins in the Montana wilderness, with a survival expert tasked with protecting him, and a forest fire threatening to consume them all. Now, this one is directed by and written by Taylor Sheridan. Co-written by Taylor Sheridan, but he directed it. Taylor Sheridan, if you do not know him, he has brought us. I think this guy's pretty solid for the most part. Hell or High Water, Wind River. He's behind Yellowstone, Sicario. This guy, I like his style. He just creates really solid, entertaining movies. Even with this one, which I think, I take that back. Is Wind River the weakest? I think Wind River still might be my least favorite. But even with Those Who Wish Me Dead, it's still entertaining enough to where you have the swiftness of a Taylor Sheridan script, and even with the direction, you have the on-screen dominance and the presence of Angelina Jolie. There's really nothing like fantastic about this one. There's really nothing bad about it. It's just kind of like, it's a solid little thriller. It's a very simple story. It sets it up very quickly in the beginning, and then it just starts rolling downhill from there. But that's the whole point. These assassins are chasing down this kid, while at the same time they start the forest fire, so they got to put that out as well. So it's just a 5-hour alarm, if you will, of a movie, pun intended, where something big is happening and people are trying to run away and get to safety. That's all it is. Really nothing too crazy, but there is some character development with like Angelina Jolie's character and some of the things that have happened in her past with her career. She is trying to, still get over that in some way, shape, or form, and it is weighing down on her emotionally, and she's carrying that baggage with her while she's protecting this kid, and she's kind of getting over that as well. John Bernthal's in it. Really liked him. Oh, man. Lost my place here on IMDb. Excuse me. Nicholas Hoult plays one of the assassins. Always fun to watch. Kind of reminds me of his character in The Great. Watch that on Hulu if you haven't. Aidan Gillen. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's the other assassin. He's Littlefinger on Game of Thrones. Once again, kind of reminds me of that character. So they're both a-holes. And they sell it very well. And then, is this... Yes, this is the actress that plays John Bernthal's wife, Medina Senghor. She was fantastic. I would watch anything with her in it. Really kind of sold the power that character had, because she was pregnant and people took advantage of her because of that. But she showed up and she was like, "Excuse you," none of that. She was like kicking some butt, and I was like, "That's fantastic." Tyler Perry's in it for a scene. Take that for what you will. I don't know what you do with that information, but yeah, everyone I think slips into the roles nicely. It's a solid little thriller. I think if it's still on HBO Max, check it out. I don't think it's theater worthy. I think just like with Mortal Kombat, I think you can get away with watching this one at home. But yeah, not my favorite Taylor Sheridan script, but or even directing. Wait, is this his first directing? Did he direct one before this? I'm losing my mind. No, he directed Wind River. That's what I thought. So, and he's directed a lot of his episodes of Yellowstone. But as far as movies go, even Wind River's not his first one. My goodness, I'm just losing it. He directed this movie called Vile. That's like a straight up like slasher film. Anyways, yeah. So Wind River was the first time I saw him direct anything, and I thought it was a well-directed film. I just didn't really care for everything that was happening. It was just one of those things where kind of forgettable. You saw it in theaters and you're like, that was interesting, and then you realize that I'm still going to give this guy plenty of chances because he has written like Sicario, Hell or High Water. I love this guy. He can do no wrong in my book. In terms of like awful stuff, I've never seen anything from this man, written wise or directing wise, where I was just like, well, flat out bad. He even did the Tom Clancy film with Michael B. Jordan. Gotta check that out. Yeah, if you catch it on HBO Max, watch it. I don't think it's a waste of anyone's time. But it is my second to least favorite of the bunch of his, but it's still a pretty solid movie. Okay, moving on to... Let's do Cruella. So, the live-action prequel featuring the young Cruella de Vil, the villain in the 101 Dalmatians and 102 Dalmatians, respectively. Of those movies, Glenn Close played the iconic character back in the day. I was a kid when I watched those. Love those films. So seeing this with Emma Stone, I was curious. I didn't really care for the trailers, to be honest with you. Kind of just looked very blah and looked like a waste of money to me. But I was willing to keep a open mind to see where it could go. It's fine. I mean, these three that I have literally just talked about for the last 15 minutes, there's really nothing to expand on because there's nothing to talk about. It's just kind of like they're there. They were, there's some good parts, there's some okay parts, but when you're done with them, there's really not like that thing that draws you back to them, where you want to rewatch it, where you want to examine it, and you want to see the things that you missed, the things that you can appreciate more. It's just not there. Cruella is the same thing. Emma Stone and Emma Thompson, the best things about this movie. Oh my God, Emma Thompson can chew that scenery, and she is quite the villain in this one. Yes, she's even worse than Cruella. At least with Cruella, in the beginning, it's like there's some stuff that could be redeemed with this person, Emma Thompson's character, without spoiling anything, nothing redeemable. She's just an awful human. So there is that. But yes, the performances are really, really good. And there's even some moments where Emma Stone was crushing it. Because this is a character that you have to kind of do a lot with. This is not, some black and white, pun intended once again, there you go. Black and white villain that's just going to be, it's all bad, and it's just bad, 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 or, they're good, but they're misunderstood. It's like, there's a lot of stuff weaving in and out of this person's life to get her to this point, and there's a lot of things you can kind of understand, like you can feel for her, you can empathize with her. And then there's some stuff where she does go overboard, and you're like, well, she was kind of an anti-hero, but now this thing has kind of pushed her towards the villain side. But, she kind of redeems herself a little bit, so she kind of goes into that gray zone. So I like that. I like that exploration of this character and kind of diving into that. Now, let's rewind it a little bit. This is Disney, after all. They're not going to go like super dark or hardcore with it. Yes, it is PG-13, but it's a very light PG-13. But could you take this character into a completely dark direction and make it a little bit more character focus? Absolutely. But as far as a blockbuster Disney film that's attempting to do something with a very dark character, it's fine. They could have done more with it. I do like the first half a lot more than the second half. I thought the first half with like her as a child, and spoiler alert, she loses her mother. She's an orphan. That's why she ends up where she's at. But her just finding her way around the city, becoming friends with the two guys, and they have to steal stuff to like just survive, and like just seeing her kind of grow up and being thrown into like this job where it can kind of get her towards her fashion goals, like. That stuff was all interesting, and it kind of loses steam a little bit. And I think the third act, it does pick up just a little bit. So it's kind of a rocky roller coaster, but I ended up thinking it was okay to slightly liking it. They are developing a sequel to this film, and I'd watch it, sure. The end credit scene was enticing, so I'll give it that. But yeah, I just... It's once again kind of flew in one ear and out the other. There was a lot of things I did like, though. The production design, exquisite. It's great stuff. When you're dealing with something in I believe it was in the 60s or 70s, it was set place in. Anyways, the fashion was immaculate. I loved it. Production design, the sets, everything was just really nice to look at, and I really thought they captured the era in the period very well, and it looked like a grander movie than it should have. Like I love the, was it London, the city, the streets of London, and just the store that she was working in, the loft that they were in, and just everything about it just really added the charm and the touch that you need to add to this film to make it better than it is, because it's one of those things to where this could get boring very, very quickly, but at least from a production design standpoint and costuming, it's pretty great eye candy. And I think that paired with the performances, they push this movie to me liking a little bit more than some people. But if those things were not hitting on all cylinders, this movie would have fell flat for me. But yeah, is it worth? So the question is it worth the $30 on Disney Plus? I would say so. It's not a ringing endorsement, but I'd say so. But if you want to wait until it hits Disney Plus for free, then you'll have to wait a couple months. But, I like the kind of punk rock attitude that this movie had, just kind of like, it gives no S's, basically, which is awesome. So I do appreciate that. Kind of a very confident movie, I'll say that. So, yeah, that's Cruella there. So, Cruella Deville. Is that what the joke was? Yeah, I think that was the joke in the movie. Anyways, so that is the first half of this podcast. I went over Mortal Kombat, Those Who Wish Me Dead, and Cruella. Two of them went to HBO Max. I know Mortal Kombat's off of it. I think Those Who Wish Me Dead is probably off of it as well. But Cruella is for purchase on Disney Plus for $30, or you can go see it in theaters. I think the other two are still playing in theaters as well. But that is it for the first half of Real Me and Cole Movie Podcast, episode 323. I am Chase, and tune in for the second half here where I'm going to go over Army of the Dead and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. So, stay tuned. I don't know how to transition these things. Welcome back to part 2 of episode 323 of the Real Me and Cole Movie Podcast. Let's keep this review train going. So, the last two I wanted to talk about before I wrap this up is Army of the Dead and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, the third film in the Conjuring franchise. So, let's start with Army of the Dead. So, this one released in theaters a week before its Netflix release. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyways, it's directed by Zack Snyder, who we all know made a fantastic superhero movie earlier this year with Justice League, the Snyder Cut. That was 1,000 times better than the original cut. But I started out with this man's career watching Dawn of the Dead. I still remember watching that. I had to thank Zack Snyder quite a bit. People are going to probably cringe when I say this, but I'm going to thank him quite a bit because when I watched Dawn of the Dead when I was 13 or 14, I was introduced to Disturbed for the first time. The iconic Down with the Sickness song that played during the credits, and that kind of got me into more of that style of music, and I like Disturbed, and I ventured off and listened to other ones within that same genre, so I thank him for that. But Dawn of the Dead is a really great zombie film, and I would say it's on par with the original. I like the original for what it is, but Zack Snyder took something and made it his own, made it different, made the zombies terrifying by having them run 200 miles per hour. Which is funny when you think about it, because aren't their bodies decomposing? And so if they're running super fast, you figure the skin on their bodies would not hold, and they would just can you imagine a zombie running super fast and the hands are going like a sprinter or something, but is their skin not holding? You figure their arms would just kind of fall off or something, going that fast. I don't know. Was that a scientist question, or I don't even know, physics question? Who knows? Who knows the actual rules of zombies? But anyways, just a random thought. But yes, Army of the Dead. Following a zombie outbreak in Las Vegas, a group of mercenaries take the ultimate gamble, venturing into the quarantine zone to pull off the greatest heist ever attempted. You're probably thinking to yourself, why on earth are they trying to steal money during a zombie apocalypse when they're the only humans? What does the money serve? That's a good question, because I had the same thing floating through my noggin before I watched this. The zombie outbreak is only in Las Vegas, and it's quarantined off from the rest of the world. So that makes more sense. So it hasn't gotten to the world yet. There is an end credit scene, and maybe what I just said doesn't make any sense, but or not making any sense, but maybe just redacted because it might spread to the world. But yeah, it's just a Vegas thing. So the heist makes more sense now. It's a great idea, though. So I'll give them that regardless of what I'm about to say about it. But yeah, so that is the synopsis. Stars Dave Bautista. He is the lead character. You have Ella Purnell, who plays his daughter in the film. Amari Hardwick, Ana de la Reguera, Theo Rossi, Matthias Swingoffer. Oh, I'm going to get obliterated in the comments. Nora Arnizader. Who am I missing in the group? Tig Notaro. Is he part of the group? Oh, Garrett Dillahunt. Raul Castillo. I've already embarrassed myself too much. Anyways, those are the majority of the people in the group of mercenaries that are going throughout this mission. So you have to have a great group dynamic, a great chemistry when you're making these types of films, because it's not just about the blood, gore, and the violence, which, that's what we see zombie movies for. We want to see zombies' heads blow up. But with this type of group, you need to have a good dynamic. And I think for the most part, everyone's characters stood out. They had personality to them, and they were able to carry the story and make it entertaining to watch. Were there some characters that were absolutely just annoying? Sure. But who's not going to be annoying in a zombie apocalypse? You could literally have a zombie chewing off someone's arm and they're still going to be an a-hole. And like nothing's going to change about them. It's just like that's just who they are. But I think for the most part, everyone was really fun to watch. And I really like the group dynamic in this film. I think the action sequences are really fun to watch. It's a zombie film. You got to make them creative. And of course, Zack Snyder with his slow motion. There's not a lot of it, but where it is effective, really cool to watch because it really just kind of adds to the suspense and the threat level that these characters are going through. Seeing someone run in slow motion, you have like a horde of zombies in the back. It just makes the suspense more palpable. But really fun to watch in that regard. I like the setting of Vegas. Really cool, something different for this type of genre. I think it's put together really well. I didn't really find any dull moments with it. But Zack Snyder always runs his movies up to like an 11 out of 10 each time. So that's not to say this movie doesn't have its slower moments. So there's a lot of, moments between like Dave Bautista and Ella Purnell's character and like the father-daughter dynamic. Ella Purnell and like some of the friends that she has in the camp that she talks to, that dynamic. So there's a lot of, kind of sweet, kind of human moments that we get to kind of break up the chaos and the absolute zombie energy going on, because you can't have it go at 1,000 miles per hour without having some breathing room. Zack Snyder knows that. That's why he does what he does. But, he has those moments for sure. But for the most part, this is a very swift movie. I found it to be very entertaining, no doubt. The one thing I did not like about the film is the cinematography, which is interesting because Zack Snyder is the cinematographer on this film. So I do not mind depth of field or extreme depth of field, where a character's in focus in the front of the shot and everything else behind them is blurry, out of focus. So you really kind of accentuate the character, and it really has you focus on like what they're saying and the dialogue, and just the focus is on them. I don't mind that. It's a technique that can be used to enhance a story, to enhance a moment, a scene, to really kind of bring everything else around the character, out of focus, away from them, and you concentrate on them. I get why it's used. I'm not an idiot. But oh my God, almost every single shot in this film is that. Where it's so out of focus and that depth of field is so crazy behind them that it almost looks like they are green screened, and like there's a Gaussian blur behind them that just doesn't what am I trying to say? That doesn't, go away. It's constantly there, but like all the characters are in focus. It's a bit much, and it's a strain on the eye, and it takes you out of it. I thought I was going to get used to it as the movie kept going on, but I did not. So yeah, that's my only like real complaint about it. Is just the cinematography of it. There are a couple cool things for sure, but like for the most part, that extreme depth of field can get very, very like straining on the eye, and I just don't think it's pleasant to look at sometimes. Especially for instance, when they're about to go on the mission and they're in this camp, it's in the desert, right? So the camp is brown and gray and bland, and the ground is brown and sandy and gray and bland, and like everything around it, it's just muddy. So it, like when it's all out of focus and it's just muddy, this bland muddiness behind them, it is so unflattering to look at. So that's just an example, and like that drove me nuts, and I was like, please tell me it gets better, and it did not. Couple cool shots for sure, but I'm just not a fan of that really extreme depth of field throughout the entire movie. And this is a 2-hour plus movie, so you got to really kind of calm that down. But It's on Netflix. It's a streaming film. It's not. I don't really think you had to see it in theaters because it did play in theaters for a week. It's serviceable, and there are some moments that I really, really dug and really, really enjoyed. And there's an end credit scene. They want to make a sequel to this. I'm 100% down for it. But it is not a zombie film I'm gonna like want to pop on occasionally, like Zach's Dawn of the Dead. I have seen that a million times. Love it every single time. This is something where it's like, that was fine to watch a first time. Don't really care to watch it again. If someone suggests it, I'm not going to say no, but it's not my first choice. So that's kind of my thoughts on Army of the Dead. And the movie that just came out, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Another theater and HBO Max day and date release. Here we go. I love the Conjuring movies. I like 1 quite a bit. I love 2. I like Annabelle Creation. I have not liked any of the other spinoffs. I hated The Nun. I don't like The Curse of La Llorona, which, the director of that directed this one, the newest Conjuring film. I never saw the first Annabelle, but people said it was awful. Never saw the third Annabelle. I mentioned The Nun. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the spin-off films, but the actual like Conjuring installments I've really enjoyed. And I really loved the second one. So The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, it's based on a real life case. Well, most of these are based on, cases that the Warrens did. I know there's like a whole controversy on Twitter right now and with how, the Warrens, being fraudsters, if you will. And it's just like, they're both gone at this point. These are entertaining movies. Unless it's physically hurting someone who's actually like still alive and it's like slandering their name, and they might be. Please drop that down below if there's actual slander going on. But for the most part, I just view these as entertaining movies. But yes, I'm well aware of the film controversy online. So The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is the third one in the Conjuring installments. The Warrens investigate a murder that may be linked to a demonic possession. A iconic case where the person who was in question of the murder said that he was possessed and the devil made him do it. And so the Warrens are trying to, figure out like if it's true demonic possession or if it was all him. So that's basically what it is. I think this is the weakest one out of the 3. And when this was done, I turned to my wife and I said, I don't remember much about this one. And to be quite frank, I have no desire to watch it again. At least with like the first one and the second one, I have this urge. As soon as like they're done, I'm just like, I cannot wait to watch that next Halloween, or I can't wait to watch that on another like creepy night out, and like you just want to get like scared out of your mind. Like I can't wait to pop those in again. But there was nothing about this third one that made me had any type of inkling to watch it again. And that is really sad because I think the first 2 are really great. I love people's description of these movies. They're fast food horror films. Hey, everyone likes fast food sometimes. It's okay. I think movies like Hereditary are one of like the best ones in like the past like 10 years. I also think The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2 are one of the best ones in the past 10 years, but I know that they're completely different styles and, the artist's prestige, if you will. Like, I get it. The Conjuring films they're like fast food entertainment. But once again, who doesn't like fast food every once in a while? So I know that's how people compare them, but like, whatever. But yeah, for this one, I felt like there was something missing. There was that magic that the first 2 had. And it might be because James Wan did not direct this one. And the director of it, give me a couple seconds here, Michael Chaves, who directed The Curse of La Llorona, did not like that one. I just felt like there was that spark missing. The wonderful tension that brims in the air of these films. The way the camera moves, the way it's edited to precision to get the full maximum effect of the jump scare. or the maximum effect of the reveal in the room, or the way the sound design drops sound completely and kind of like comes back up, or maybe trickles in with something kind of light and in the background. It kind of spooks you out a little bit because you don't know what it is. That's what makes the first two so great. I realize that they're pretty simple. Haunted house, Warrens come over to investigate it, and spooky stuff happens. I get it, they're simple. But there's something about the way those things are shot, and the way they're pieced together, and the way the sound design kind of comes together to create an experience. I felt like that was missing with this third one. So that's like the major strike against it. Another thing is I would say like there's bits and pieces that I like about this movie, and then it completely kind of goes off the rails and is a little too goofy for my taste, even with this film and these films in this universe. They just, I don't know, it didn't feel like a Conjuring film. It felt like, I don't know, like some random horror film that a studio pumped out and was just like, ooh, isn't this kind of spooky? And just like, no, this is kind of weird because it doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. So yeah, I thought like the opening scene was great with like the demonic possession. I was like, there's like bits and pieces of like what James Wan would do. So I was like, perfect. We're in good standings. Like this is where it's going to go. And like the story was interesting for a little bit. And then it just started getting a little too ridiculous and like supernatural and like almost like fantasy-like. And you're like, this doesn't feel like a Conjuring film. It's just so weird. And like the whole third act with like the final boss climax, it's weird. I don't know. It's our good buddy Joel, co-host of this show. He put on his Twitter, he said, it didn't know what it wanted to be. And he even texted Brian and myself, and he was like, it really just had no clue which direction it wanted to go. And I think that's like the best way to sum it up. It's like, there's some interesting ideas here, and there's a lot of great things presented in this film. Even the beginning was great, and it kind of like, it got off to a great start with like the murder, and like, did this guy actually do this? Was he possessed by a demon? And then like those, like questions of doubt and everything, like that was great. But like they made the courtroom scenes like 30 seconds long, and they concentrated on other things to pad out the story. I would have much rather have seen the trial of this film. And I know it's going in a completely different direction. I know a lot of people are even complaining that this movie went in a completely different direction, didn't have as many scares. It was just completely different. And of course, it's got a different director with it, so it's going to have like a different style to it. I'm open to it. But I just didn't really think all of it kind of like came together as well as it should have. If Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson were not as good as they are as the Warrens, these movies would fail at the beginning of all this with the first one. But they're so fun to watch, and like even with the goofiness of this one, they still sell it, and I really like watching them together. They have wonderful chemistry as a married couple, as just a great team to solve a mystery. I love watching both of them in these movies. If they keep making these, am I still going to watch them? Absolutely. Just because this one's a bump in the road does not mean I'm done with these movies. But as far as the three go, this is the weakest one by far. And I have no desire to watch it again, even though like I want to watch like the first one and the second one again to, kind of dive into them a little bit more and like kind of understand how certain scenes were put together. I just have none of that with this. So it's on HBO Max right now. If you guys want to check it out, go nuts. So yeah, that's the review of The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. So you're probably thinking like, what is the secret thing that I'm going to review, and like why is this what I'm about to talk about like one of the better things I've seen this year, and it's way better than anything I'm talking about in this episode? Well, it might be a comedy special on Netflix. That's right, it's Bo Burnham, Inside. We're going to talk about that right after the break. And welcome back to the last part of episode 323 of the Real Me and Colin, a movie podcast. I gave you 5 reviews, so I figured, why not? Let's keep going. So, I think one of the best things I have seen this year thus far that has made me laugh, has made me cry, and is so creative on how it was put together as a comedy special, and just, I would even say a film. Like, it's pretty amazing that all this was pretty much done by Bo Burnham. He shot the entire thing and he edited the entire thing. Of course, he writes all of his own material. He acts in it. He's directing it. Like, he's got to figure out like the right rhythm and pace to it. The guy's phenomenal. And I think he really did pump out one of the best things that this year has had to offer, because it really kind of encapsulates like what has been going on the past year and a half, and just the chaos, the sadness, just the overwhelming anxiety and panic that this world has made us go through. And I think he really kind of captures that. He does. Really captures that feeling of misery and dread and just happiness and laughter and sadness. And it touched me in a way that nothing has been able to do that this year thus far. But it was really beautiful, man. It was one of my favorite stand-up specials I've ever seen. Like, it might be my favorite one I've ever seen. Like, that. This is insane, like, how this thing was just executed. But I think Bo Burnham, obviously the star, in front of and behind the camera, fantastic. I mean, this guy is super creative, and I think just directing his first film with 8th Grade, which is also a great film, A24 release, he really understands more about cinematography and more just about visual aesthetic. And I think taking that experience from what he's done in his previous stand-up specials and directing his first movie, and him being stuck inside this house over the course of, I think it was like 9 months to a year, and pumping out and documenting just what he's going through, like what his headspace is like. He's performing comedy bits, and some of the songs are awesome. But he's also going through some mental trauma, being stuck inside like this, and how some of us might have gone through that same trauma, maybe being stuck inside. And yes, I realize there was a pandemic going on, but anxiety and panic attacks are very real for some people. And being inside like that might cause that to be worse. And so mental breakdowns might happen more often. And there was one moment where Bo breaks down. He's like, I can't do this anymore. And he starts crying on camera. And you can tell right there in that moment, that is a genuine thing that is happening to this person. And you feel for him. I just, like, thinking about it now just makes me tear up. But it is a wonderful special. It is catchy at times with the songs. I cannot believe that he writes his own stuff like that. It's just incredible. But just the real kind of like interconnection and the emotional connection that we feel with Bo as we're watching. Because it's an hour and a half long. It's a long special. And you go on this journey with this person. This isn't like, you tell jokes and like, move on to the next bit. Like, there's stuff in between that doesn't really make sense with, a traditional stand-up special. But he films it and he puts it in there to show the kind of like mental deterioration that he's going through at the same time. Anyone could go crazy, being stuck inside of a small area like that, trying to pump out an hour and a half special, filming everything, performing everything. Like, it's creatively taxing on your brain. And like, it's not healthy. It really isn't. But he pushed through and he pumped it out, man. And I give him so much credit for it. It is, thank you, Bo, for creating something that was pretty memorable, and like I said, one of my favorite stand-up specials of all time. I was blown away. So if you want to laugh, if you want to cry, if you want to understand The headspace of someone, the mentality that someone is going through with isolation, give it a watch. I think you will be pleasantly surprised that a stand-up special is that good and might be one of your favorite things this year. So that is my review of Bo Burnham Inside, one of my favorites of this year so far. But that will do it, guys. Episode 323 of Real Me and Colin Movie Podcast is in the bag, and I really appreciate every single one of you for tuning in and listening to me ramble about just whatever I've seen the past 2 months. But I would like to do more of a consistent schedule now, even though I'm not like technically in my office, right now. I would like to do more reviews. In the Heights is coming out soon. Loki is dropping, this week. I got access to the first 2 episodes. I want to kind of do that weekly, maybe do more TV shows as well. So I want to kind of just do it, man. I want to go in full throttle. I'm not going to do these long compilation ones as much. I'm going to try to break them up as much as I can. But I just thought for the sake of the time that I have right now, today, I'd rather just rip it and do all of them. So, I'm going to try to do my best, guys. So please bear with me. And I really just appreciate every single one of you. You guys make this a whole lot of fun. And I truly mean that. It's tough for me to sometimes to mentally get there and be prepared to go on camera and on the mic and riff for an hour. That's tough to do. But I do think every single one of you out there that listen to it, you guys help. You guys help me do that. So I feel motivated now. I feel like I'm ready to get back in there. So guys, gals, whoever's listening, let's do this. Yeah, I can't wait. So let's jump back into it. But I definitely won't have any like month or 2 month breaks. I say that now, and then I'm gone for like 5 years, and you guys are just like, I'm done. So, but no, it shouldn't be that long of a gap between this episode and like some future episodes and everything. I'm just gonna try to get back into requesting screeners and everything, and just see where it goes. So, thank you for tuning in and listening to Real Me and Colin Movie Podcast. I am Chase Lee. This is episode 323. You guys are awesome. And let me know down below what you guys have been watching. Reach out to me, whatever. I'm always here to listen. So, yeah, until next time, see you later.